again, music fans. I am back here for another one of these artist spotlight videos, and this time for a band that I really like. Okay, Germany's doom metal stalwarts, AHAB. You know, the band that has carved themselves a niche within a niche within a niche. They are a doom metal band. Um, they are of the subgenre of the funeral doom, meaning they are really slow, really doomy, really atmospheric. And within that, they've created their own subgenre of nautical doom. Now, what does this mean? Is that all of their albums are concept albums, and they all have to do with the sea somehow. You know, with the sea, the ocean, nautical themes, and also based on books. All right, and I'm going to say which ones books they are based on as we go along. Now, I do have their entire discography, all of the records up until the making of this video, okay, which are 5 studio albums and 1 live album. All right, I only have 3 of these in physical form. The rest I have in digital form, but I'm going to put the covers of those here on the side. Okay, so let's get started with the first one, which is The Call of the Wretched Sea. Okay, this was their debut, and it is very highly regarded. They came out with a bang. This first album is based, just like their name, Ahab, based on Moby Dick. As you may or may not know, Captain Ahab is the captain of the novel Moby Dick, who is obsessed with finding the white whale. All right, so that first one, The Call of the Wretched Sea, is based on Moby Dick. And like I said, this is very slow stuff, very super heavy, atmospheric. You get that sense of being at sea, you know, for long periods of time, the rolling waves, all of that. This album even includes bits of dialogue from the Moby Dick movie, you know, that came out in the 50s. All right, I really like this album. The second one is called The Divinity of Oceans. All right, this one is not based on a novel per se, but rather a historical event, you know, from which the movie and the book, in the Heart of the Sea, came. You know, from that historical event, which was a whale, a sperm whale, that you know, back in the days of whaling prior to Moby Dick, you know, a sperm whale rammed the boat and capsized it, you know, and the survivors of those of that that boat had to, you know, go on lifeboats. They went first on an island, and then they went back to sea. Whole bunch of strange things happened, you know, to them, and their story partially inspired Moby Dick, and it was also made into the book and also the movie. Okay, again, keeping in line with the first album, a very slow, very heavy, you know, but never loses your interest. I think these are albums that are really grab you by the throat. The vocals are of the death metal variety, which are death metal and a very, very low guttural vocals, you know, but they are interspaced with a clean vocals that have a very melancholy nature to them. The third album, which is A Giant, and I do have that one in physical form. Here we go. Okay, so in this one, you know, the melodic parts kind of sneak up on you, and giving the heavy parts a lot of weight. You know, there's a lot of light and shade with this band. Okay, a lot of, I'm not going to say acoustic interludes because they're not acoustic, but rather clean guitar tone interludes. You know, arpeggios and that sort of stuff, and then the heaviness comes. You know, somehow like some of those intros to Black Sabbath songs. You know, all right, so Giant is that album, and this one is based on the Edgar Allan Poe story, The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym. I have not read that book yet. Okay, though I do own it on digital. And by the way, I also have read Moby Dick. I have not read In the Heart of the Sea. I am going to read this one. Okay, which is in the public domain if you want to check it out. Okay, well, I believe this was Edgar Allan Poe's only novel, full-length novel. Even though it is a short one, but it is a novel. Okay, really cool cover right there. Really nice illustrations here in the booklet. There's Edgar Allan Poe himself. Really cool pen and ink stuff. This is the way to make, a booklet. Make it interesting, not just all text and band photos, This is how you do it. Okay, and these one, there are also some, the introduction of some stoner rock grooves in this one, which I really liked, giving some variety to the proceedings. After this one came The Boats of the Glencarrig. Let's see if we can get a good look at that cover. Really beautiful. I'm going to take it out from so we can avoid the glare. Here we go. All right, The Boats of the Glencarrig, which is based on the novel of the same name, okay, which is by William Hope Hodgson. All right, a writer from the late 19th century, early 20th century, who specialized in weird fiction. He was an influence on Edgar Allan Poe, and The Boats of the Glencarrig is considered to be his best work. I did read this one. It is really, really good. Okay. So a really good horror story and a great album here. There is a lot of here the tempos, they go up a bit into what could be considered mid-tempo even, and that when they do that, it becomes heavy and epic, very epic sounding here. Okay, this one also boasts some cool interior illustrations having to do with the story of the Boats of the Glencarrig, which is about a boat that capsizes the Glencarrig, and the survivors go off on boats and they encounter this a weird island that's covered with weed and where all these strange things happen. Okay, highly recommended. If you want to check it out. I believe that one is also in the public domain. Because it's from in the early of the 20th century. All right, and then after this one comes what is, as of the making of this video, their latest album, which is the Coral Tombs. All right. I have that one on digital, even though I do have a flyer for the album cover here. The Coral Tombs, that's the cover. Also going to put the cover here on the side. And this one is based on the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which I have also read. All right. And this one is, many people consider it their best work. I don't know about that. I really like the Boats of the Glencarrig, but it is really, really good. I don't think this band has ever made a bad album. They have a really kept up the game. Now, here we see again the mixture of the death metal vocals with the clean vocals, giving it a more melancholy sound. Still doom metal, but we still get those a bit of those stoner groove vibes in here. Some really good lead solos. Great drumming also. All right. So the slow parts are crushing as hell. They up the tempo a bit. They vary it quite a bit. I think that's what makes this a much more interesting listen. Though these albums, I believe, are really made to be heard all the way through, which is how I listen to them. That's how I like to experience them. for this album, I also have here a pin of the album. Well, a section of the album cover. Okay. Which is that one. I'm going to put a close-up of the pin here on the screen. Right. And the last album is their live album. Okay, well, not their last as in last to be released, because this one came before the Coral Tombs, which is Live Prey. Okay, love that album cover right there with Moby Dick. This one has 5 songs, and sometimes it's described as an EP, but it's over an hour long. So, to me, that's an LP. All right, even though it does only have 5 songs, but those are 5 long songs. All right, as you would encounter in a typical doom metal band. Live Prey, really love it. The 5 songs are Below the Sun, The Pacific, Old Thunder, Ahab's Oath, and The Hunt. Okay, Ahab. There's the disc. And I got this one from the website of the band themselves, which is how I got the pin, and they threw in a couple of flyers and even a sticker here for the cover of the Coral Tombs. So thanks, guys. Well, there you have it with Ahab. If you want your doom, super doomy, and also with some very interesting lyrics, because these albums made me want to read these books. Well, I had read Moby Dick prior to being a fan of Ahab, okay, but I picked up The Boast of the Glencarrig, and I'm going to read the narration of Arthur Gordon Pym. I'm also going to do a separate video where I talk about all of the books in which from which Ahab gets their inspiration. All right, well, I hope you check them out. Thank you very much for watching. Keep rocking.